When I was at school, I was sure I was ugly, strange, and basically a failed draft of a human being. So when a cute boy sat next to me, played tic-tac-toe with me in class, and walked me home after school, I didn't think, oh, he likes me. I thought, maybe he has troubles with navigation. And this is exactly what we are talking about today. We don't see reality directly. We see the version our brain allows us to see. A version that our brain built from genetics, experience, anxiety, values, childhood, and that fucking X. Last time we talked about the fact that an emotion often appears not simply because of an event, but because of how the brain evaluated this event. Remember the chain: event, interpretation, emotion. But then an unpleasant question appears. Why do we interpret the same thing differently at all? Why can't we just see reality? That would be convenient, of course, but the brain looked at this idea and said, no, I have my own version. To see reality. And by the way, what does that mean, to see reality? Has everyone actually seen it? Is there at least one person who can say, right now I'm looking at the world and I see it absolutely objectively without all these cognitive distortions? If such a person exists, please tell them to walk carefully. They are very enlightened right now. Soon everyone will start using them instead of a flashlight. Oh my God! So, what is reality after all? There is an old example about an elephant. I love this example very much because it has everything: an animal, people, conflict, and absolutely zero self-awareness. So I came up to the elephant from the tail side. Another guy came up from the trunk side. And how we are already yelling at each other that the elephant is a tail. Or no, the elephant is a trunk. And then a third person comes from the side and yells that we are both idiots. And the elephant is a huge wall of skin with 2 columns on the sides and ears the size of a blanket. And now the 3 of us are standing there, practically foaming at the mouth, each of us trying to prove that we are the one who's right. Meanwhile, the poor elephant doesn't know where to run. It's already surrounded by people with opinions and they are yelling something. The elephant feels bad, we feel bad, and there is no end to this. So where is reality? In the elephant example, reality is in all points of view together. And also, we forgot to look at it from above. Someone should be yelling from there too. This is roughly why people turned out different, with different types of temperament and neuroticism. Nature made some people careful, some reckless, and some slightly on edge. One person sees an elephant, another sees the skin of this elephant on his wall. Naturally, the points of view are different. But here is what is interesting. An elephant is always clear. It has a trunk, a tail, and ears. You can walk around an elephant, you can touch it, don't touch wild, please. But life situations aren't that clear. They don't have one correct shape that we can touch. That means that sometimes it won't be the cheerful and happy optimist who wins, but the very gloomy pessimist. Actually, in ancient times, optimism mightn't have been the best strategy. Because imagine this. You are sitting there looking at a beautiful orange background with black stripes and thinking, what a nice pattern. I should come closer and take a look. At that moment, the tiger is thinking, what a nice lunch. It came closer by itself. But if everyone were only pessimists, that would also be bad. Everyone would sit in a cave and say, we aren't going out. There are tigers, rain, people and life there. Nobody would look for food, new territories, partners, fire, salt, the internet, or normal sushi delivery. Nothing has changed now. And sometimes it's more useful to be an optimist, and sometimes it's not. It depends on the situation. And this is how, very roughly speaking, nature did make us all the same. Because if everyone looks at things in the same way, the whole group can make the same mistake together and beautifully die out. But if everyone is different, there is a chance that at least one paranoid person will notice the tiger in time, one optimist will find a new berry, and one neurotic will remember which berry later killed the optimist. This is what team sport is like. Of course, it's very tempting to dump all the blame on one poor bastard. For example, genetics. It's not me being anxious, it's my genes. It's not me being dramatic, it's my DNA just woke up on the wrong side of the helix. But genetics wasn't the only thing that shaped our points of view. There is also, remember, environment, life experience, and upbringing. Although some researchers believe that the role of upbringing is often overestimated. Hello, Karen Mammy! Not in the sense that parents don't influence anything at all, but in the sense that a person isn't only a product of upbringing. Although upbringing can play a huge role if by upbringing we mean physical and psychological trauma in children. By childhood trauma, I mean real trauma. Violence in family, alcoholic parents, drug-addicted parents, cruel parents, or no parents at all. This is both a bad environment and a negative life experience at the same time. It really does affect people, especially in childhood when the psyche is still soft like a jellyfish. Jellyfish, sting me if I'm wrong! This kind of experience can teach the brain to interpret the world through threat. Not because the person made it up, but because at some point it really helped them survive. If in childhood you had to read adults' moods all the time so you wouldn't get punished, the brain learns. The smallest change in tone means danger. An unhappy face means danger. A message without a smiley means danger. A person is silent for 3 minutes and that is it. We have been abandoned. Call the inner special forces! Well, I won't explain this for a long and boring time. Ask your psychologists about it and they will explain it much better than me for your money. Well, if I were them, this is exactly what I would do. A point of view often reflects our values. What is important to us, what we are afraid to lose, what we consider dangerous, what we consider shameful, what we consider love, what we consider proof of our worth. But if our values or beliefs stop us from living, maybe we should do something about them. We need to understand which values, beliefs, or interpretations ruin our life. Which ones help? Which ones were useful before, but now have turned into a security guard who doesn't let us into our own life? And this is where, honestly, I open a portal to hell. Because all people are different. I have one experience, you have another. I have one set of genes, you have another. I have a herd of dragons, maybe you have a terrarium with exotic creatures. Some people have organized cockroaches sorted into folders. Some people have cockroaches in panic with suitcases. Some people have an old board of directors inside them made of a critic, anxiety, and one ancient grandmother who says normal people don't do that. And still, I will try to explain how we can work with this. I will explain how this or that hardware works, what kinds of hardware there are, and what kind of software we can basically install so it works normally. Maybe not perfectly, but normally, okay? Yes, you can change something in your value system, your point of view, and your interpretations. But you know, this isn't a course for $999.99 where I promise to solve all your problems in 1 week. Although, to be honest, I really want to make such a course. I really need money right now. But then you will realize that it's all nonsense, that I'm a fraud. You will find me and you will cause me trauma. Only not childhood trauma, not psychological trauma at all. Do I need it? I don't need it. Remove this extra function. So here is the truth. It's hard, long, and there are no guarantees. I'm not a guru, a coach, or psychologist, or a neuroscientist. I'm simply someone who has partially dealt with my own dragons. Not quickly, not perfectly, and not always beautifully. But I have. We can and should change our interpretations if they seriously get in the way of our life. But first, we need to understand that they are getting in the way and which ones exactly. And that can take quite a long time. Our brain doesn't like changing its favorite habits. It only does it when we really need it. But at least now we understand why it can be so hard to start seeing the world differently. It's the same category as just do it, another useless piece of advice. Because it's not just a role. You can break yourself and turn a pessimist into an optimist, for example. But maybe there is still a chance that this optimist will die very optimistically in a place where a pessimist wouldn't even go. So not all interpretations are the same. That's why on top of everything else, they also stuffed a neocortex into us. So we could somehow figure out each situation ourselves and decide whether it's real tiger or just a tiger skin on the wall. I had one case. When I was at school, I was a very beaten down child. I was really beaten at school, even by girls. I was a creature that tried to take up as little space as possible so the world wouldn't accidentally notice me and kick me. Naturally, I didn't love myself. I seemed ugly to myself, wrong, and generally some failed draft of a human being. Plus adolescence. Hormones walking around with a chainsaw, frontal lobe still under construction, emotions without a muzzle. A horrible period. And even when one cute boy started paying attention to me, I didn't understand at all that he liked me. My gills knew nothing. He sat next to me, played tic-tac-toe with me in class, walked me home after school, and I thought, interesting, why he is always next to me? Maybe he has troubles with navigation. I understood it only around university. That is how long it took me to realize what had happened. I'm a giraffe. And it was exactly at school that I first started trying to negotiate with my brain. Back then, of course, I didn't call it working with interpretations. I didn't know at all what I was doing. I just understood this. If I continue to look at myself through the eyes of my inner critic, it will eat me and won't even ask for a napkin. My grey cardinal had been whispering to me for years. You are ugly, you are strange, it's better if people don't notice you. And then one day I stood in front of a mirror and started making faces at myself. Just like that, out of despair, boredom and teenage madness. A very scientific method, of course. I made more faces. Then more. And then, suddenly, I stopped making faces and started looking at myself normally, from different sides. And I started noticing that from some angles I actually looked quite good. And if I narrowed my eyes like this, and if I erased my eyebrows like this, and I also smiled, I started to like myself. And it was a breakthrough. Suddenly I saw myself. No beautiful, no wave. At first just pretty. But there was no stopping me anymore. And by the beginning of university, I already had several romances and short crushes behind me. Well, it seems I got a little too carried away with mirror work. So, in short, I started with making faces in the mirror and ended up accidentally updating my own picture of myself. The longer I looked, the more tired my inner critic became and the more unbiased my view became. Completely new information started entering my brain. Namely, that from a certain angle, with certain lighting, my face becomes pretty. A smile suits me. Laughing eyes make me more attractive. But a serious facial expression doesn't really suit me, because I don't look serious. I look as if someone woke me up at 7 in the morning with a hangover. And I started smiling more. Little by little, it became habit. And I also noticed that the more I smiled, the more people liked me. And that was exactly what I had lacked throughout my childhood and youth. I started to like being liked. Yahoo! And yes, my critics still sometimes whisper nasty things, but I just no longer listen to it like sacred radio. Now I'm like, Thank you for your opinion, ancient anxious Toad. Go back to your swamp. This is one example of how you can change your own point of view, your interpretation. And that isn't all. Hold your sea horses. Next time, I will tell you about how I almost beat up a crowd of very kind people. Sounds like a good teaser, right? And now it's time for me to dive, because if I sit here a little longer, my hungry Neptune will come back from work, look at the fridge and say, "Damn it, piranhas have clearly been here." And the piranha is me. My dear land dwellers, if you like me, subscribe my channel before the YouTube waves scare me away. Like the video if your brain also acts like a drunk pirate sometimes.